Hello, welcome to Ceemo. My name is Heather Lawver, and I'm excited to introduce you to the art of pitching. During this short but informative course, you'll learn how to connect with your audience, craft a compelling story, command a stage, and pitch with confidence. Whether you're pitching your startup to an investor, trying to land a big sale, or kicking off a career-changing project, the fundamentals are the same, and you can master them. When it comes to pitching, two things are certain. First, every project needs a pitch deck. And second, every leader needs to present. Yet, as vital as these two things are to every project's future, why do they remain such a mystery? At Ceemo, we're determined to help leaders like you demystify the pitching process using our unique tips, tricks, and methods that we'll go over today. Tips and tricks which, by the way, have helped entrepreneurs raise over $170 million in venture capital. So let's dive in and increase your odds of launching your dream too. To get started, let's take it back to the very beginning and talk about the goal of pitching. Lots of people will think, it's to make money, for investors or executives to fire up that money gun in your general direction. Actually, while money is wonderful and necessary and yes, part of the pitching process, it is not, in fact, your primary goal. Because getting that money is dependent upon your ability to be understood. In order to be understood, you need to explain who you are, what you do, and what you need to succeed, so that yes, someone will fire up that money gun in your general direction. In order to be understood, I want you to start with what I like to call the stoplight check-in. First, stop and ask yourself, what is my pitch goal? What do I want my audience to understand? When they do understand, what do I want them to do with that information? When creating your pitch, if anything doesn't serve that goal, throw it out. So much of what you keep versus what you discard depends on proceeding with caution and asking, who is my audience? What are their needs? What are their interests? How familiar are they with this topic? Are they average Joes or industry experts? That should radically change what you say and how it's presented. So ask this question each time you prepare for a new pitch, because each audience will be different, and your pitch needs to reflect that. All of this leads into the green light for moving forward. How can I connect with my audience's hearts and minds? How can I connect with them as human beings? How do I meet both my needs and theirs? Your pitch is really building the foundation of a relationship. It's not closing the deal. It's not all-encompassing due diligence. Rather, it's the first impression you hope will lead to investment and a long time frame of working together. After all, an investor or executive isn't just investing in your ideas, in your company, or your project on its own in a vacuum. They're investing just as much in you as a person, someone they believe can fully implement that idea. Your pitch not only needs to convince them of the idea itself, but they need to understand and believe that you are the person or the team who can make this idea a reality. That can't happen without building a relationship between you and your audience. Building that relationship depends on three key factors. It all begins with empathy. Start by building common ground with your audience. What passions do you share? What pain points can we all relate to? Use those commonalities to create a shared experience. Use storytelling to create a memorable moment, a shared experience that bonds you and your audience together. Shared experience is powerful. It's what bonds trauma survivors together, or why two strangers light up when they both love the same book or TV show. Use that power to connect you to your audience. It's so much harder to build empathy without authenticity. Try to always be your true self. By being bravely vulnerable, by being human, you will draw out the humanity in others. That act of bravery builds a powerful bond of trust. Our shared emotions between presenter and audience will help to create lasting connection. Sharing emotions together is a great way to build relationships, and a well-done pitch can be the foundation upon which a strong relationship is built, one more likely to blossom into investment, productivity, and shared ideas becoming reality. The best and easiest way to convey all of these things, to create that shared experience of authenticity and trust, is through the power of storytelling. The human mind is hardwired for stories, whether it's the earliest humans telling each other our shared history around campfires, or a family sharing stories about our day over the dinner table, or my personal favorite, the all-important bedtime story, shaping young minds while filling their hearts. Stories have a way of conveying deep truths while creating strong and lasting bonds. Indeed, the way our own minds are wired, the way we view who we are as individuals, depends on the stories we tell ourselves. Stories matter because they carry great power. The same is true whether you're reading a story to a child or giving a presentation. As the saying goes, tell me a fact and I'll forget. Tell me a story and I will never forget. As much as possible, while preparing your pitch, be mindful of creating a cohesive and compelling story so you'll engage with your audience and connect with their hearts and minds by finding that common ground and being your authentic self so you can create relationships built on trust, all of which will help you to accomplish your goals. Now, to show you how to do that in detail, I'm going to follow my own advice and tell you a story. So get ready, get comfortable, and let's explore the innovator's journey. How you got to this point in your company or project informs so much about your pitch, about the story you'll tell, and the stresses along the way. So, once upon a time, you had an idea. You thought long and hard about whether or not you should pursue it, if it was worth it. You saw a pain point, one you knew affected lots of other people just like you. You imagined a unique and wonderful solution. You could imagine a beautiful world unaffected by that awful pain point. You knew the world was hungry for a solution, giving you plenty of potential for growth. You figured out why you are the person to solve this problem. Maybe you even found a team who could help. Lastly, you figured out what resources you'd need to be a success. You thought about all of this and decided, yeah, I can make this happen. And with that, you moved from idea to adoption. You took that idea, dove in headfirst, and decided to go for it, to make it a reality. With you and your baby of a project, you moved forward, made the investment, and started on your journey. Now, if you're anything like me, this phase, it can be so exciting, downright intoxicating. It's very, very easy, just like a kid on a sugar rush, to run up that hill so fast that you leap right over an unexpected cliff and crash right into Burnout Ravine. It's just like hitting a tiny pothole, which is a mild nuisance to a slow-moving car, but that same pothole can spell disaster if you're a race car driving at upwards of 100 miles an hour. The faster you're moving, the easier it is to crash and burn out. But all is not lost. If you're able, if you're determined, if the stars align, you'll pick yourself up, grab some crutches, and reignite that passion. But this time, you'll temper it with a little bit of patience. With that wisdom of hard-won experience, you learn from your mistakes, you adapt, and then you begin to scale, to implement your plans, to begin recruiting partners and funders, climbing that first hill along the path to the highest peak of the mountain where success awaits. Finally, after that long, hard, difficult, emotionally draining climb, at long last you reach the first summit and achieve enlightenment. You are Abraham on the mountaintop, seeing all of history and everything to come. You can see it all, both the past and the future. It's beautiful and glorious, both in its entirety and down to its smallest detail. When you think about telling your story in a pitch, you just know you have to tell it all. Anything less, and well, your audience, they just won't get it. They won't see the beauty that is everything. So, along comes your audience. It's time to pitch your idea, to tell that perfect, all-encompassing macro view of a story, but you only have 10, 5, or worse, only 3 minutes in which to pitch. What are you going to do? They need to hear it all in all of its glory. There's just so much info they need to know. So you grab them by the hand and run as fast as you can. Hurry, they have to get to the mountaintop right now. This is why it feels so impossible to pitch your business in 5 minutes, because you can't rush enlightenment. It took you months, maybe even years to get to that mountaintop. How can anyone possibly expect your audience to get there in a few minutes? Besides, remember burnout ravine? Just like that race car, the faster you try to get through all of this information, the more likely it is your audience is going to crash. Burnout ravine quickly becomes the Grand Canyon of info overload. If that happens, your audience is going to check out and not care to reignite a passion they never had to begin with. You just can't rush enlightenment. But the good news is, you don't have to. Your audience doesn't have to make it all the way to enlightenment. It's so much simpler than that. When it comes to pitching, all you need to do is get your pitch audience from idea to adoption, while making sure that they trust and believe that you are perched on that mountaintop, seeing everything there is to see. So many founders think, how can I squeeze everything I need to say into my pitch? Flip that on its head. Ask yourself, what is the bare minimum I need to say to get my audience from idea to adoption? If you can do that, then all those other steps in between, they can just go away. Because all you need to focus on is how efficiently you can get from idea to adoption. Now, how do you get them there? The exact same way you got there. Remember all those questions we talked about that you asked yourself when you first began your journey. Those are exactly the same things you need to cover in your pitch. If we sandwich those between an intro and an outro, you suddenly have every chapter necessary for a perfect pitch. It all starts with an introduction. Who are you? What company or project do you represent? And a one-sentence slogan that provides an introductory summary. It's like a micro elevator pitch that lays a foundation of context, telling the audience what playground we're playing in today. And don't forget to include your name and email address so they know how to reach out if they want to come play in your playground. Next, a compelling problem. What's wrong with the world today? How many people are affected by it? Make it compelling, make it emotional, make it human. Next, your unique solution. How do you solve that exact problem? What makes you different? How much better will the world be because of your idea? Make this your Wizard of Oz moment, where the world goes from drab and dark in that awful problem to bright, happy, and colorful with your solution. That leads into market and financials. This is just enough of your business acumen to convince the audience that you're the enlightened guru on top of the mountain, seeing all and developing plans for the future. Hammer that point home by explaining why now and why you. Why is now the right time to take action? What will they miss out on if they don't jump into your playground right now? And why are you the person or the team to make this happen? Again, when someone invests, they're not just investing in an idea, project, or product. They're investing just as much, if not more so, in the people they believe will make it happen. The penultimate piece of the puzzle, your ask for your future. What are the resources you need in order to reach your specific goals? No matter where you're pitching or why, always have an ask. But it doesn't have to be money. Oftentimes when we ask for money, it's in order to hire help. What if you just asked for the type of help you need? Sometimes if people aren't able to give their money, they can still offer their time, talents, and connections. So don't be shy. Ask for whatever it is you need, because you never know who in that audience will be the key to opening the next door of opportunity. After all of that, don't ever forget to conclude with what I like to call a grateful crescendo. Remind them of that compelling problem and help them feel the emotion of rising to that mountaintop of success, where the world will be so much better off because of what you could do together. Thank them for their time and leave them with that positive, memorable impression that you're that enlightened, humble, and grateful guru on the mountaintop, someone they want to work with, someone eager to welcome them into a better, brighter future. This is everything you need to cover in a traditional pitch. But what about if you're restricted to only a 2-minute pitch? Well, let's make this even simpler. For shorter pitches, you only need to tackle 4 quick things. Who are you? With just your logo, name, title, and contact info on the slide. Think of it as a nice, pretty business card blown up full screen. Next, what do you do? Explained as quickly and succinctly as possible. As Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough yet. So demonstrate your prowess by explaining what you do simply and quickly. Next, your latest big success and your next big goal. This demonstrates your ability to set and achieve goals while also giving them some idea of where you are in your project's growth life cycle and what you're currently working toward. Finally, share the excitement of what you need in order to accomplish that big goal. You're not begging them for money. You're not begging them for permission. You are inviting them on an exciting opportunity that they are lucky enough to be part of. Wrap all that up in a thank you, and that's it. 4 things, 15 to 30 seconds each, just enough time, just enough of a taste to get them excited to jump into your breakout room or come ask more questions to learn more about you and your big idea. It's not a full pitch, it's not a rapid fire crash course at 1,000,000 words a minute. Rather, it's a delicious appetizer, a teaser trailer enticing them to come talk to you to learn more. That's it. With these 2 frameworks, no matter what time limit you are pitching under, if you can convey each of these things, you will get your audience from idea to adoption. Now, once you get your audience to adoption, that's when they'll be so excited that they just have to come talk to you. You'll start having conversations, follow-up meetings, due diligence, all that good stuff. It's during that process when you, in essence, give the audience a hang glider so they can have a nice, gentle ascent to the mountaintop, where they'll join you on the rest of your journey. Now that you know your pitch only needs to get your audience from idea to adoption, it's time to cover getting from idea to adoption in a standalone pitch deck that's being emailed to someone to read at their leisure, versus you giving a presentation, speaking to an audience, whether you're standing on a stage, in a boardroom, or over Zoom. More often than not, entrepreneurs, project leaders, they treat these 2 as one and the same, but they are entirely different mediums. To me, it's like comparing reading a book versus watching a movie. They may be exactly the same story, but they're very, very different experiences. And yes, that's little 16-year-old me in a photo from when USA Today covered my very first company. When it comes to standalone pitch decks, think of it more like a booklet or brochure that's designed to be read alone at the audience's leisure with no other input from you, because it contains all the needed information in order to get that reader from idea to adoption. It's an entirely self-contained little capsule about your company, sent out into the world to tell your story while you're off doing other stuff. This is often the piece that gets you the meeting with that potential investor or executive, where you can then give your presentation. Reading a pitch is a much, much different set of circumstances than when you're giving a presentation, either standing on a stage or speaking over Zoom. Suddenly you have a wealth of tools you don't get in a book. In this format, you get to engage both sight and sound, maximizing the many different ways that human beings learn and retain information. This helps you to create a cinematic experience that's focused on you and your idea as the stars of the show. Let's show you what happens if you try to present with a standalone email-style pitch deck. When you do that, you're essentially asking your audience to simultaneously read and listen to you speak all at the same time. Ask yourself, when was the last time you read a novel and listened to a podcast at the exact same time? Our brains simply weren't designed to take in that much information from two separate sources all at once. We can't do it. It's simply too overwhelming. Yet, when you present with an email-style pitch deck, that's precisely what you're asking your audience to do. But I guarantee you, with the way our minds are wired, as soon as they see that giant block of text, your audience will start reading and their ears will begin to shut off. No one will hear what you have to say. This is the exact opposite of what you should be trying to achieve as a presenter. So when you're designing your slides, I want you to think about a principle I like to call balancing attention. Giving a good presentation is a lot like a juggling act, except instead of juggling brightly colored balls, you're juggling your audience's attention. That attention needs to be carefully and meticulously managed, split between you as the presenter and narrator and your slides. You are primarily an auditory source, while your slides are a visual source. This presents its own challenges to your juggling act because the human brain naturally focuses more of its energy on visual stimuli. The vast majority of our brain's processing power is devoted to interpreting signals from our eyes. 90% of the information being absorbed by our brain is processed visually. This means in order for you, the auditory source, to be the star, you have to be exceptionally careful in how you plan your slide deck in order to ensure that you remain the star of the show. Think of it as making sure that every bit of that 90% of visual stimuli is there to serve you, to reinforce you, rather than distracting attention away from you. In short, the entire purpose of your slides is to make you look better, to make whatever you say more impactful, to make everything about your presentation more memorable. Because at all times, you should be Beyoncé, and your slides are your backup singers. Everyone should be focusing on you, the star of the show, while the rest of their attention is paid to the backup singers, which only serves to reinforce how awesome you are. So you might be asking yourself, how can I be Beyoncé? The trick is in following the example of Queen Bee's backup singers. All the single ladies. Now put your hands up. Notice her backup singers faded back, letting Beyoncé carry on into the verse. After all, she has her backup singers for a reason, to make her shine. Naturally, Beyoncé would lose a little of her luster if they sang every single word she does as she does. Beyoncé is not, and never has been, a choir. This is not about many voices blending together, becoming one, but rather one voice standing out from the rest. Similarly, you don't need to put every single word you say up on your slides. It limits their impact, makes them run together, and frankly, it just gets boring. After all, this is not merely a projected printout of your script. It's not a teleprompter. Instead, reserve your backup singers, your slides, for the hook, the chorus, the catchiest bits of an earworm you don't want forgotten. Use your slides to highlight certain impactful keywords, or better yet, visualize meaningful concepts and statistics. Whatever you want to really drill into those heads, that's what goes on your slides. Think of it as a sporadic echo, a visual design scaffolding to highlight and reinforce your most important statements. Finally, There is one deadly sin that backup singers should never, ever commit. Thou shalt not start singing that catchy chorus while Beyoncé is about to sing the first verse. That'll get any backup singer fired because, spoilers, man. No one wants them, whether it's a TV show, the big game, or your slides. Try not to let your slides get ahead of you. Now, let's take a look at the Beyoncé principle in action. Generally speaking, for the majority of your presentation, you should have 75% of your audience's attention on you and 25% on your slide deck. Every so often, you can shift up that balance for the sake of powerful imagery to create extra memorable moments. But the point is, it should always be deliberate and planned. Attention must be wielded as a tool, harnessed and directed for maximum impact. That said, most of the time, the audience's attention should be managed to highlight you. Just like with your backup singers, the catchiness of your song depends upon maintaining this balance to ensure your audience is both engaged and absorbing information easily. The balance is maintained by ensuring your slides always visually represent whatever you are currently saying. When the narration matches the visual, what the audience hears and what they see effortlessly matches, ensuring they easily understand, comprehend, and remember everything you're talking about. In short, you aren't making them work for it. Information is flowing freely and easily. This balance goes awry when the narration either no longer matches the visual, or worse, your slides start getting ahead of you, showing seemingly disconnected images that have nothing whatsoever to do with what you're talking about at the moment. Or in other words, spoilers. All of this confusion means the audience isn't listening to you at all anymore. They're too busy thinking, did he click the wrong slide? Did I miss something important? Is the puppy going to wear the turtleneck? I mean, I'd pay to see that, but what's with the windows? I am so lost. At this point, you could be saying that you know the true meaning of life, but no one's going to hear it. They are so confused you might as well not even be on the stage at all. No one in history has mastered the Beyoncé principle better than Steve Jobs. Does the turtleneck make sense now? If this were a regular presentation, your audience's little aha moment would also be distracting them from what you're talking about. But anyway, when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, he famously filled the screen with the iPhone, and only the iPhone. This ease and simplicity of pairing spoken word with immediately connected visuals is precisely what made Steve Jobs so revolutionary. To illustrate just how radical his approach was, let's contrast him with Bill Gates. It's just so busy. First off, not only does your eye not know where to go first, but it's literally chock full of spoilers. When he starts out with the first item, People Network, he is talking, but the audience isn't listening to him. They can't help but read ahead. It's human nature. Half the audience is now wondering what the heck Other Experiences from Microsoft and Others is all about, while the other half is distracted by that sweet iMac in the corner. Now whatever Bill's saying is going in one ear and out the other, because it's just too much. When everything is up there, nothing has impact. So let's go back to Steve Jobs. Whew, so much better. When Steve had a vital piece of information he really wanted you to remember, he put it front and center. No distractions. Literally all of your attention is on Steve and that number, 499. In that moment, he is Beyoncé. He is the star of the show. He is masterfully guiding your attention right where he wants it, telling his story to its fullest potential. Whenever Steve had more information to convey, he always did so in a clear, organized, easy-to-follow pattern. Your eye knows exactly where to go and what's being talked about. What's more, Steve never showed the entire list at the beginning. He understood spoilers. This is how he started. He introduced you to what he was talking about first, the iPad, a nice foundation of context. We know the playground we're playing in today. Then, as he said the next relevant fact, it appeared on the screen. Then the next. He's walking the audience through, step by step, so that no one reads ahead and no one gets lost. No one takes their attention away from the star of the show. This is why Steve Jobs is remembered as a master communicator, because he always expertly juggled his audience's attention, utilizing their visual and auditory learning in order to balance their attention, focusing all of the audience's energy on him as he effortlessly conveyed his message, making it impactful and memorable. This may feel like a huge legacy to live up to, a massive bar to reach, but you can do it. Just like juggling in real life, the skill can be learned. It's simple. Be mindful of your audience. Design your slides in order to manage their attention. And never forget, you're already Beyoncé. You've worked hard to perfect your business, your project, your idea. You deserve a perfect pitch deck that emphasizes the star that you are. If you need a little help with that, don't worry. That's precisely what we're here to help you with. If you need a little extra help, that's what Ceemo's for. I've distilled my 10 years of pitch expertise and 25 plus years as an entrepreneur into this engine that's designed to be your very own automated CMO, making branding, marketing, and pitching easier than ever before. It all starts with our simple brand quiz. Tell us about your company and choose 3 keywords defining how you want to be perceived by your customers. We take that unique strategy and use it to generate a complete custom brand book with a wordmark logo, color scheme, font suite, unique identity, and beautiful design motifs. We also offer all sorts of hands-on design support too, to further tweak and enhance your brand. We're still in beta, yet this engine is able to independently replicate brands that took humans months to create, all in just 10 minutes or less. But we don't stop there. Ceemo then takes your new brand and instantly creates custom marketing templates in Google Workspace, including 40+ slide pitch deck templates, one-pagers, letterheads, social media, and business cards. Best of all, every asset comes with mini textbook guides that fill you in on everything I've learned helping founders and ideas and innovators just like you raise that $170 million in venture capital. New assets are coming soon for sales, sponsorships, and more. Plus, our team of experts are always on hand for personalized help and support. If you'd like to join the Ceemo beta, it's super simple. Head over to Ceemo.ai to sign up now to get your friendly automated CMO first. Don't forget, you can also get an exclusive 15% off all of our subscription tiers with discount code DREAMBIG. In the meantime, don't forget our handy free resource guide at Ceemo.ai/resources, which is chock full of all sorts of amazing free stuff to get you started creating your own perfect pitch deck. Thank you very much, and I really hope this was helpful. I'll see you soon at Ceemo.